Hi everyone, welcome to my next video, and in this video we'll be talking about the multiple choice questions from the chapter Fundamental Unit of Life. So let's get started for the questions. The first question: which scientist discovered cell for the first time? The options are Robert Brown, Robert Hooke, Haeckel and Rudolf Virchow. So from the options we know that Robert Hooke is the correct answer, or the option B, because he was the one who had first discovered cell when he identified, or when he saw a slice of cork under his microscope and discovered some compartment like structures which he named them as cell. The second question: what was the structure of the cork cell like? This answer I've already told you here. So it was more of a honeycomb like structure. Because it was a honeycomb like structure, he saw it as compartments and he named them as cells. It was round, no. Elliptical, no. It is honeycomb. So basically it is option B for the first one and option C for the second one. So now let's move on to the next question. Cells viewed by Robert Hooke were dead, living, partially living, or none of these. So Robert Hooke, who first discovered cell, he saw the cork cells under his microscope. So those cells, or the cells of the cork, were actually dead cells. They were actually dead cells. So it is option A. And living cells were first discovered by Robert Hooke, Robert Brown, Leeuwenhoek, and none of the option is Leeuwenhoek. That is option C. So we'll go with option C for question number 4. So the question number 5: who discovered nucleus in 1831? Is it Robert Brown, Robert Hooke, Haeckel, or T. Schonn? It was a T. Schonn, Haeckel, Robert Hooke, or Robert Brown. It is answer or option. The correct option is Robert Brown. Answer A. The sixth question: who proposed the cell theory? Is it Virchow, Robert Hooke, Haeckel, or Sheldon and Schonn? So the correct answer for the proposing of the cell theory was for Sheldon and Schonn. That is answer D, or option D. The next question is that the theory that cells arise from pre-existing cells was proposed by in 1858. It was proposed in 1858 that the cells arise from the pre-existing cells, because by that time people had discovered the living cell, the dead cell, the nucleus, but they did not understand where from the cells were coming, or actually from where were the cells getting born, or how they are born, or how they come into being. So it was always, the scientists were looking like anything to understand from where the cells were coming, or the new cells came into being. So it was the scientist Rudolf Virchow who had first told that the cells always arise from the pre-existing cells. The cells always undergo cell division, which give rise to the daughter cells, and that is how cells arise from. So this theory was first put forward by Rudolf Virchow. It was not Robert Hooke, Haeckel, or Sheldon. So correct answer is answer A. Which of the following is not a unicellular organism? Bacteria, Paramecium, Rhizopus, Chlamydomonas. If we understand that which of these is not a unicellular, so they are telling that all of them are unicellular, only one, that is multicellular. Bacteria is a unicellular, Paramecium is a unicellular, Rhizopus, is Rhizopus a unicellular? No, Rhizopus is a multicellular organism. Chlamydomonas is again a unicellular. So the correct answer is option C. That is for question number 8, option C is the correct answer. That is Rhizopus is a multicellular organism. So next question: 1 micrometer is equal to how many meters, or is equal to how many meters? That is, the first option is 10 to the power minus 4, 10 to the power minus 6, 10 to the power minus 8, or 10 to the power minus 5. We all know 1 micrometer is equal to 10 to the power minus 6 meter. So correct option is option B. That is answer B is the correct option for question number 9. Cells remain surrounded by a thin elastic covering. So all the cells remain surrounded by a thin elastic covering. You should remember this adjective that has been used for this covering, that is thin and elastic. If it is thin and elastic, it should not be a cell wall, because we all know that cell wall is thick and rigid. It is not at all thin and elastic, plasma membrane or cell membrane. we all know that plasma membrane is also known as cell membrane, and this is the covering, or this is the outer covering of the cell, which is thin and elastic, and it also is semi-permeable in nature. So both of them, it is just two names, that different names that being used, that is cell membrane or plasma membrane is one and the same thing. So we should go with option D, that is both A and B. So the correct option is option D for question number 10. The next question, let's come on to the next question, that is question number 11. Which is not a characteristic of the cell membrane? Now, cell membrane, which is not a, it is living, rigid structure, selectively permeable, made of protein and lipids. If you remember the characters of cell membrane, then we know that it is a living, it is living in nature because cell wall is dead, but cell membrane is living. Rigid structure, as I told you for the previous question, rigid structure is for the cell wall. Cell membrane is thin and is elastic, it is not at all rigid, it is flexible in nature. Selectively permeable, cell membrane is selectively permeable, whereas cell wall is not at all selectively. It actually permits everything in and out of the cell and made of protein and lipids. It is cellular membrane, or cell membrane is made of protein and lipids, whereas cell wall is made up of cellulose. So the only option which is not a characteristic of cell membrane is a rigid structure. So answer B, or option B, is the correct answer. A type of transport which occurs along the concentration gradient is called the, a type of transport which occurs along the concentration gradient, it is occurring across the concentration gradient, is called the passive transport. And passive transport, under passive transport, it has two types of transport, that is diffusion and osmosis. And active transport, or active transport, is that it is against the concentration gradient. It is against the concentration gradient. So it is passive transport also and diffusion also. So we can go for both B and C. That is occurs along the concentration gradient. So it is option D is the correct answer. So the next question, diffusion is defined as the movement of substance from the region of its. So what is diffusion defined? Lower concentration to higher concentration to lower concentration, both A and B, or none of these. So what is diffusion? It is the movement of particles from a region of higher concentration to the region of lower concentration. That we all know that diffusion is a mode of transport, or mode of spreading out, is a mode of spreading out from a region of higher concentration to a region of lower concentration. We must remember this, that anything which flows out or which moves out is always from a region of higher concentration to a region of lower concentration, because everything flows from high to low. We will not see anything flowing from low to high. It is very rare in nature. If you have to do that, it requires energy. It is not a general process that takes place. So moving from higher concentration to the lower concentration, it should be the correct option, that is option B. Answer B. The question, hypotonic solution has a lower concentration of solute and higher concentration of solvent. If you remember that hypotonic solution, we had discussed about hypotonic solution, hypertonic solution and isotonic solution. In that I had described, or I had told about that in isotonic solution, the concentration of the solute and the solvent is more or less on the same manner, or more or less in the same level. So if you place a cell, or if you place anything, or place a cell in that solution, the isotonic solution, the cell remains same. It neither gets absorb water, or neither does it get shrink by losing of water. But in a hypotonic solution, that is a lower concentration of solute and higher concentration of solvent, when it is there, when you place a cell, then obviously the cell absorbs water and it inflates, and it gets inflated, because the solution, the higher concentration of the solvent, is in the solution. So the solvent molecules transfers or moves from the solution into the cell. So what happens? The cell gets in water and it gets inflated, it blows up, it becomes big in nature or big in size, it gets inflated. So if you remember that, then hypotonic solution has a lower concentration of solute and higher concentration of solvent. That is the answer A. The correct option is answer A. Moving on to the next, what is the basic structural and functional unit of life? We know it very well because this is the chapter that we are studying. What is the basic structural and functional unit of life? Is it tissue, organ, cell, or all of these? It is nothing but it is cell. That is the basic structural unit and function of life. This is from the cell that the tissues are formed, and from the tissues that is the organs are formed. So the basic is the cell. Option is C. What will be the result of a cell if it's placed in an isotonic solution? Just now I discussed. If you place a cell in isotonic solution, cell will swell up? No. Will be of the same size? Yes. It will not at all shrink or it will not at all swell, and none of these is also not a correct answer. So it will be option B or answer B. Moving on to the next question. Which of the following statements is or are correct about the division of labor? It is present in multicellular organisms. Yes, because division of labor, we have talked about division, or we know about the division of labor only in the multicellular organism. Because in unicellular organisms, it is only that one cell which performs all the duties or all the responsibility for maintenance of life. But in a multicellular organisms, different organs, different tissues, and different cells perform different work that they have been assigned. That is everything. That is for digestion we have a separate system, that is for respiration we have a separate system. Everything is separated out, and based on that the cells have also been separated out. But for a unicellular structure, it is only that one cell which does all the work that is required. So it is multicellular, it is present in multicellular organisms. The correct answer. The processes in a body takes place more efficiently. Surely, because always we have seen the higher evolved ones are evolved organisms, may it be plants, animals, or humans, they are all multicellular organisms. Each of the body parts composed of different groups of cells perform different functions. That is also true. So in division of labor, all of these happens. So we'll go for the option all of these, that is answer D. Cell was primarily made up of proteins, lipids, cellulose, or carbohydrates. Cell wall. I had told you that cell membrane is made up of proteins and lipids, and there are some carbohydrate chains, whereas cell wall is made up of cellulose. That is option C. So moving on to the next question. The next question. The fluid enclosed by nuclear envelope is known as cytoplasm. No. Nucleolus. No. Nuclear matrix is also no. It is nucleoplasm. That is option, or correct answer is answer D. Option D. Which of the following statements is or are incorrect? So nuclear membrane consists of two membranes. Nuclear membranes is continuous. Nuclear has chromatin materials. All of these. So which is correct or which is incorrect, they are asking. So they are asking which of the sentences or statements that we have mentioned are incorrect. Nuclear membrane consists of two membranes. That is true. That is, it consists of two membranes. Nuclear membrane is a continuous. No, it is not a continuous membrane, because there also on the nucleus membrane you have some pores called the nuclear pore, which helps in the movement of the material in and out, just like we have some pores on the cell membrane. Nucleus has the chromatin material. So this is an incorrect statement. The option B is an incorrect statement. Nucleus has chromatin material. So the nucleus has chromatin material because nucleus is the part of the cell which carries the hereditary material or the genetic material. We all know all of these are not correct, because we have already found that option B is incorrect. So we'll go with only B is incorrect. So the option should be option number 3. Moving on to the next question. Which of the following statements is or are correct about unicellular organisms? So what is correct about the unicellular organisms? They live independently in nature. The unicellular organisms can perform all the life processes. Unicellular they live independently in nature is true. The unicellular organisms can perform all the life processes. That is also true. And unicellular organisms like amoeba also undergo reproduction. It is also true, because they can undergo reproduction. They might not undergo sexual reproduction, but in the asexual mode of reproduction also they can undergo reproduction. So all of these are correct. So we will go with the option number D. During cell division, the chromatin material condenses into DNA. It's not DNA. Chromosomes, yes, it is the chromosomes that it get condensed into. Proteins are none of these. So the correct answer is option B, that is chromosomes. The unit of inheritance is also known as the DNA, RNA, proteins or genes. The unit of inheritance, we know that the inheritance factor that is carried from one generation to the another is through genes. It is not through DNA, RNA or proteins. It is through genes that carries the hereditary material from one generation to another, that is option D. So which are the components of cytoplasm? Cytosol, of course, it is a component of cytoplasm, that is, it is made up of cytoplasm component. The cytoplasm is made up of cytosol. Cell organelles, obviously cytoplasm consists of the cell organelles which remain embedded in the cytoplasm, the cell inclusions also. So it is all of these that compose or that combine together to form the cytoplasm. So we'll go with the option number D, that is all of them or all of these. So answer D is the correct option. Let's go to the next question. State the following sentences are true or false. Cells are of different shape, sizes and number. So cells are of different shapes, sizes or number. That is absolutely true, because we have different types of cells for performing different types of functions. So they are of different shape, size as well as number, as well as their position also keeps on changing based on their function. Multicellular organisms arise from a single cell. That is also very true. All multicellular organisms arise from a single cell, because these cells keep on dividing and slowly they start to form the tissue, and from each of this tissue the organs get developed. Because if you remember how do organisms reproduce, then we had talked that a zygote is formed from a male gamete and a female gamete, that is from a sperm and the ova, and it forms a single cell, the zygote, that is 2N. It is a single cell. We minded that it was a single cell, and slowly that zygote started dividing, forming into a lump of cell which later differentiated to form the tissues and the organs, and finally a complete organism. So the first option, that is the second option, the multicellular organisms arise from a single cell, is also correct. In multicellular organisms, the shape and size of the cell depends upon its position in the body and the functions that they perform. So in a multicellular organism, the shape and size of the cell depends upon the position of the body, that is also true or correct, and the functions they perform. So based on the function and the positioning, the shape and size of the cells keep on changing. Animal, plants, humans are all multicellular organisms. That is also correct. Cells in animals, plants and humans are all similar in structure. Now, if you see this sentence or this statement, that is cells and animals and plants and humans are all similar in structure, this is incorrect, because we know that the animal cells and the plant cells are different from each other. They have some basic differences and they are very much different from each other. So we cannot tell that cells in animals, plants and humans are all similar in structure. They might have similar functionality, but they are very much different in structure. So this last statement is false. Rest A, B, C, D are all true. So see, A, B, C, D are true, and finally this option E is false. Next question: which statement are true for functions of the plasma membrane or the cell membrane? It protects the cell from external injury. That is correct, because the basic function of the plasma membrane or the cell membrane is to protect the cell from the external injury. It helps in the movement of all the materials in and out of the cells. It is also true that it is not true, because here if you read the sentence properly, it helps in the movement of all the materials. Here it is all the materials, but if you remember for the cell membrane or plasma membrane, that it does not allow the movement of all the materials. It does not allow the movement of all the materials. It allows the movement of some specific materials only, because each of it has pores in them. So it is a semi-permeable membrane. It does not allow the movement of all of it. And so this statement is incorrect, or it is false. It helps in keeping the cell components in place. That is true. It forms the cell organelles within the cytoplasm. It forms the cell organelles within the cytoplasm. So all of these cannot be true. It forms the cell organelles within the cytoplasm. So we can tell that all of these is not true, because B, we have already found out that B is incorrect. So A, C, D are all true statements, whereas B and E are false. State which statements are true or false. Diffusion takes place for the small size molecules like gas, water, etc. That is true. Diffusion requires energy. No, diffusion doesn't require energy. It is a natural phenomena. It does not require any energy, because if we remember the process of diffusion, that is, if you put a drop of ink in a beaker of water, it automatically mixes. It is not that we have to spend any energy to mix the ink with that of the water. So it does not require any energy. Diffusion helps in the exchange of gases between the organisms and the environment. That is true. It helps in the exchange of gases, because it is through the process of diffusion that the exchange of gases through the stomata takes place in the plants during the process of photosynthesis or during the process of respiration. Transpiration in plants occurs through diffusion. That is also true. Transpiration also occurs through diffusion. The smell of fruits and flowers spread through diffusion. That is also true. So if we see that A, C, D, E are all true, only B is incorrect, or it is false, because diffusion does not require energy. It is a natural phenomenon. So the next question. Osmosis is a process in which solvent molecules moves from a region of lower concentration to higher concentration to region of lower concentration. Solute moves from lower concentration to higher. Solute moves from region of higher to lower. When we need to opt out or move out from the options, we must first remember the osmosis is a process in which it talks only about the solvent molecules. It is not the process of the solute molecules, because in the process of osmosis there is no movement of the solute molecules. It is only the solvent molecules that moves through from a region of higher concentration to a region of lower concentration, and through a semi-permeable membrane. So here in all the options we have missed out the semi-permeable membrane, which is also an important part of the definition of osmosis. So we'll go with option B, that is solvent molecules from a region of higher concentration to a region of lower concentration. That is option B is the correct answer. Which statements are true or false? Diffusion takes place in liquids, gases, while osmosis occurs only in liquids. It is true. Semi-permeable membrane is a necessity for diffusion and osmosis. If you remember, it is only a necessity for osmosis. It is not a necessity for diffusion. Absorption of water by the root hairs of the plants from the soil is an example of osmosis. Yes, because the root hair that acts as a semi-permeable membrane. Osmosis is the movement of solvent molecules from the concentrated solution to a dilute solution through a semi-permeable membrane. Movement of salt from a concentrated solution to a dilute solution. Just see for the question or see for the statement. It is written concentrated solution to a dilute solution. Concentrated solution means, concentrated means that the solute concentration is high. So if it is of a solute concentration is high, that means the solvent concentration is less. If it is less, means it is a lower solvent concentration. Concentrated solution means it is a lower solvent concentration with a higher solvent concentration. So this sentence is incorrect. So basically osmosis should take place from a dilute solution to a concentrated solution, where the solvent concentration is high in the dilute, whereas in a concentrated solution the solvent solution or solvent concentration is less. Opening and closing and stomata is also regulated by diffusion. So the options which are correct is option A is correct, C is correct, and E is correct, whereas option B and D are false. B is false because it is told that necessity for diffusion also semi-permeable membrane is only required for osmosis, and D, it should be from a dilute solution to a concentrated solution, or higher concentration of the solvent to a lower concentration of the solvent. And this is the Last question, which statements are true or false? The layer outside the plasma membrane is the cell wall, which is non-living and rigid. Plasmodesmata, which is present in the animal cell. State which statements are true or false. The layer outside the plasma membrane is called the cell wall, which is non-living and rigid. Plasmodesmata, which is present in animal cell, it was discovered by Robert Hooke in 1665 in corpse lice. Cell membrane, which is completely permeable. Cell wall, which is completely permeable. Now, the layer outside the plasma membrane, when they are talking of the layer outside the plasma membrane, then obviously they are talking about the cell wall, which is non-living and rigid. So this statement is correct. Plasmodesmata is present in animal cell. No, this is an incorrect statement. It was discovered by Robert Hooke in 1665 in corpse lice. Yes, it was the cell wall that was discovered, or the cell plasma membrane that was discovered. It was discovered in the corpse lice. Cell membrane, which is completely permeable. Now, cell membrane is not completely permeable. It is semi-permeable because of the pore. So, it does not allow anything and everything to come in and go out. And cell wall is completely permeable. This is also true. So, A, C, E are true, whereas B and D are false. So this is what brings to the end of the video from the question and answers for fundamental unit of life. If you have liked my video, please like, share and subscribe to my channel. And if you have any queries or any questions regarding this chapter, you can surely post your comments in the comment section and I'll surely get back to you. So till now, thanking you. Stay well, stay safe. Thank you.